that's the path that America needs to head down. It will only happen when Americans all across the country rise up and demand their freedom and their liberty.
Hello everyone, I'm Brandon Lewis, founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Today we are joined by Secretary Mike Pompeo via phone, who served under President Donald Trump as director of the Central Intelligence Agency from 2017 to 2018 and as the 70th United States Secretary of State from 2018 to 21. Pompeo is a former U.S. Congressman from Kansas and served as a United States Army officer. Secretary Pompeo, it's an honor to have you, and we miss you. We miss you in your
well, thank you very much. It has been a long 6 months to watch them unravel so much of the good work that the Trump administration had achieved on behalf of the American people.
Well, you teed this one up, so here goes. When you and President Trump were serving our nation, we had a stable Middle East with amazing treaties being put in place that had never been done, historic movement there. Using a strategy that everyone said wouldn't work but did. We had record high employment, low fuel cost, record lows in illegal immigration. Now we have the opposite of all that with the Biden administration. You were just at the Williamson County Lincoln Day dinner on August 7th. Not all of our subscribers could be there, so tell me what they missed and tell me what your message is for the people of Tennessee.
Well, they missed a great gathering of true believers in the conservative movement who are out every day working to make life better for their community, for their schools, their churches, their families, all the things that people like me from Kansas and people like you all from Tennessee understand. I spoke to them very directly about the fact that this administration is headed down a path we haven't seen in America in the sense of their scale of the growth of government. You mentioned inflation. That's a result of that. The weakness abroad where our enemies don't fear us and our friends don't want to hang around us because they think we're not prepared to do what is required. You can see businesses struggling to find people to work. All of these things are different than when we had a foreign policy that put America first and a domestic policy that understood that you have to get it right at home. You can't teach garbage about racism in our schools. You can't teach that our founding was fundamentally flawed. You can't take away our guns. All the things that we all know to be true were what had led to the really good place that America was in before the change in administrations.
So when you get out of a role like that, you've got to do something. It gets in your blood. I came out of retirement after 6 years of running federal campaigns. I just wanted to run my little business, but we had so few conservative news outlets in our state that I launched the second one. We had one before, and lots of liberal media coverage was remarkably unfair to you and President Trump. And now you've got it in your blood. So tell me about your new efforts with CAVPAC and just anything else that you, Mike Pompeo, you're spending your personal time on to try to move the ball forward.
Well, Brenda, thank you. First of all, thanks for doing what you're doing with your conservative news outlet, right? It's just the truth you're telling, right? Just the facts, unvarnished and real, so everybody can form good judgments. It is really important. The left media, the corporate-dominated media, just doesn't do that. I'd read reports, Brandon, of meetings I was in, and they didn't remotely reflect what had actually happened. It was enormously frustrating and dangerous because the American people get bad info. And so you're right. I have, along with my wife Susan, committed ourselves to making sure that President Biden has as short a runway as possible. That begins with making sure we elect conservatives all across America, not just to take back the House and the Senate at the federal level, but school board members, sheriff's offices, county commissioners. We need to go reestablish that the way we think about the world is right. It's better for everyone. We want equality for everyone. And so CAVPAC is the vehicle through which I'm doing that. You can go see it at CAVPAC.com. We are traveling the country, helping candidates raise money, helping them get organized, teaching them about how you run an effective campaign so that we can take back these important institutions, the ones that impact each and every one of us, from school board to sheriff's office.
Well, if you ever have an opportunity, I wrote the best book on political fundraising ever, How to Raise Money for Political Office, because it's the only one. So I'd be happy to come teach the stuff that people hate, which is the financing side of running for office. You know our nation. So I'm just going to ask you a question that I think a lot of conservatives had on their mind and still have on their mind. A lot of liberties have been taken from Americans in the last 18 months, and if we're going to take things away every time there's an emergency, the government will always manufacture an emergency. And I've been shocked at how timid conservatives have been, and even liberals, about standing up for their constitutional rights or even speaking out. What did you think as you watched it all unfold, and what has to happen for those rights to be reclaimed? Did you ever think Americans would lose so much turbulence?
No, your point is very well taken. Look, when this Wuhan virus hit America, we were all trying to figure our way through this best, but we can now see what the path through this is, and we can see that it isn't through abrogating our rights. Indeed, it's about reinforcing our central understandings here. And I was disappointed. I saw some pastors when certain states, it didn't happen in your state, but certain states were closing down churches and leaving bars open, didn't demand a different outcome for their flock, for the people to whom they had said they were going to help lead their life and their faith. But I see a real reawakening. I see it in Loudoun County, Virginia. I've seen it in the state of Washington, where parents can see the garbage being taught to their kids, and they're saying no more. I can see pastors all across America saying, no, we're gonna get back at it. We're gonna put people back in our synagogues, in our churches. We're gonna go practice our faith. I see people standing up for their Second Amendment rights too, saying, no, you're not gonna impinge on those. And then when it comes to family, you can watch parents who are so concerned about what this administration is trying to do with our kids and not letting them get back to school. We know the enormous harm that flowed from keeping kids out of school. And frankly, it hurt the least amongst us the most, but it hurt every young person that couldn't be in that environment, learning, being around their friends, being in that environment where they not only gained the academic skills they needed, but the social skills they needed to be successful. This administration wants to put everybody back home and put them in masks. We know how to handle this virus in a way now that we can protect people from the worst of the risk. And that's the path that America needs to head down. It will only happen when Americans all across the country rise up and demand their freedom and their liberty.
Guys, if you like conservative news, you've got very little selection in the state of Tennessee. Only 7% of people in the media identified as Republican in 2016, the last time they did the study, which means there's probably fewer now. So every time you get news through a Tennessee broadsheet, it goes through the lens of liberalism, and what you're left with is a bunch of claptrap. So if you don't like that stuff, because I don't, go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support. And if you give any amount, we will send you 2 proud Tennessee Conservative bumper stickers. And if you get $50 or more, we will give you this leftist, not this leftist tears tumbler. That's what Brian or what Ben Shapiro says. We'll send you this proud Tennessee tumbler. And if you put Boone's Farm into this, it comes out a very nice aged Cabernet. It has magical properties. You can also keep it in your car. If you have to prop it up underneath the tire to change a tire, it's made of titanium and reinforced steel. So you're going to love this puppy. $50 or more. We'll also send you this directory, which all of the state and local officials love. And if there's something coming down the pike and you don't agree with it, or if you want to give them encouragement, we'll send that in the U.S. Postal Service. That's TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support, or hit the red button at the top of the homepage. Back to the questions.
So I'm very thankful for your service. You're continuing the fight. We can't be down one man, one patriot, because we are in a heck of a fight here. I've never seen it like this, and I've never said that. Politicians are trained to say that, but good grief, it is just a mess. So what do conservatives need to be doing, practically speaking? I'm so glad you talked about the school boards. I'm so glad you talked about city councils, because from an organizing standpoint, in many urban areas in the South, and I bet Kansas has got its own examples, we're getting our you-know-whats handed to us.
Yeah.
And we think that the old school, because you're well-known, non-digital, not very aggressive campaigns are going to continue to put people in local office, and it's just not working. What do we need to do, rank and file grassroots conservatives, to be effective? And I'll close with that question.
So I harken back to my experience. The first time I truly got involved in politics in any real way was I helped a woman run for city council in Wichita, Kansas. She said she wanted to run. She had not run for office before, and so we got after it. And we brought people around us who'd been around campaigns before. We did all the blocking and tackling. And then we rallied the people we knew, our friends in the community, our friends in the schools, our friends in the churches, and we asked them, step up. And I think you're seeing people do this, and every conservative needs to find out the place that they can add value. Maybe they go teach fifth grade Sunday school. My wife and I did that for a while. Maybe they go knock on doors for somebody. Maybe they make phone calls. Maybe they write a check for $5 or $50 and help a candidate with the signs that they need or to get their message out. And then we need people with technical savvy. You mentioned this about digital. These campaigns today are fought in a very different way. We need to make sure that conservatives understand how those campaigns are won, how we get hearts and minds aligned with what I believe is the majority value set in America. We don't let these crazy radical left, what I believe are minority voices, drown us out. We have to win these races at every level all across America. And when we do, I am confident this nation will continue to be the most exceptional country in the history of civilization.
Well, we have about a minute left. I'm a man of my word. I'm going to give you the last one. Thank you so much for coming on this program. And you've got a friend here in Tennessee in the media if you ever come back into town or have a message to get out. So Secretary Pompeo, let you lead us out here.
Great. Well, thank you. The last thing I'd mention is, as an evangelical Christian, I also believe that we should pray, not just for the folks that share our values, but those who need to really have our prayer. Our current leadership in Washington needs those prayers as well. If we maintain our faith and we work hard and we tell the truth, I'm confident good things will happen.
Well, Nehemiah and Daniel were both people in servant relationships that were not elected or were not appointed at the time. They weren't the leader, but they had huge influence, and I think that we do have to pray for those that are in leadership, and I'm glad that you brought that up. We've got a church, Calvary Chapel here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that was so worried about everything that's happening. They started a very large civics course and organization, and they've been bringing speakers in once a month with thousands of people showing up because the church has been involved in the culture, all in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And to think that churches are not and should not be involved in the culture and leadership is just completely misleading, and they've got to get back in the fight.
Amen.
All right. Well, Secretary, thank you so much. I wish you the best in all you do, and you'll get one more prayer today from me. And if you ever come to Tennessee, look us up here at the Tennessee Conservative, and we'll get the message out.
You can count on it, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time today. So long.
Take care.